Okay, so today's episode is about the current restructuring that's going on at Vertigo Comics, DC's mature line. But before we get into that, I want to discuss the elephant that somehow made its way into this room. See, part of what happened during the restructuring is that they unfortunately had to let go of the executive editor of the Vertigo line, Shelley Bond. Now, Bond was a very well-liked and very respected figure, not just at Vertigo, but in the comic book industry at large. People genuinely loved working with her. It's sad to see her go. But what has people most upset is that she was let go, but Eddie Berganza, the group editor of the Superman titles at DC, and a man with multiple sexual harassment allegations against him, still has a job. The two situations have nothing to do with each other. Berganza wasn't responsible for getting Shelley Bond fired or anything else like that. But the Shelley Bond situation has moved people enough to take action to try and right a wrong that's been going on for honestly a little too long. Now, I just want to talk about the Vertigo restructuring. Serious topics like sexual harassment in the workplace, not really something I'm qualified to talk about. But somehow Eddie Berganza has become such a big part of this discussion that I feel like I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't at least touch upon it. I don't have all the information. I don't know what's true and what's not. However, if multiple women have come forward and accused him of this behavior already, you shouldn't be keeping him around. Period. He's clearly a problem and people don't like him or his conduct. You have to take this shit seriously. The current image of the comic book industry is that it's a boys' club, despite the work of prominent women like Shelley Bond. And while this image may be changing, keeping somebody on your staff with a lot of sexual harassment allegations against him doesn't help anything, especially after you just fired a woman who held a prominent position in your company. If Eddie Berganza is a problem, then he has to go. End of story. And with that out of the way, on to today's episode. Last week, DC Entertainment announced it would be doing major restructuring to its Vertigo imprint. This restructuring unfortunately meant that executive editor Shelley Bond had to be let go. This sucks for a lot of reasons. Shelley Bond had been with Vertigo since 1993 and was already in the middle of trying to revitalize the brand. But all this really seems to be the final signifier that Vertigo really isn't what it used to be. See, back when it formed, it focused on titles that were technically in the DC universe, but aimed for a much older crowd. See, books like Swamp Thing, Sandman, Animal Man, and Hellblazer were all technically in the DC universe, but featured a lot of sex, violence, and naughty language that kept it out of the target demographic. So they created a whole new imprint, Vertigo, a place where that type of stuff can flourish. And over time, it slowly became more of a creator-owned label, a place where writers and artists can go and work on whatever they want with all the freedom they want. Writers like Grant Morrison and Garth Ennis brought series like Transmetropolitan and Preacher respectively to Vertigo, and out of this came stories like Why the Last Man, The Unwritten, Scalped, Fables, all encouraging other writers and artists to go to Vertigo to just be themselves and create. But over time, a lot of things started to change. Specifically, Image Comics became the new Vertigo. A lot of creators were going there, even ones that had been with Vertigo for a really long time. People like Brian K. Vaughan, Jason Aaron, Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder, people who made Vertigo what it was, don't want to work for Vertigo anymore. There are several reasons for this, the big one probably being that Image has better and more lucrative deals for their creators than Vertigo offers. There have been a lot of attempts over the past few years to try and make Vertigo relevant again. Recently, there was a big push of new creator-owned content with books like Art Ops and Unfollow. This was supposed to be the start of a new dawn of creator-owned content at the line, but people just didn't seem to care. Sales have not been great. Now it looks like things have fallen to the point where drastic retooling is necessary. So what's the answer? What should DC do to keep Vertigo afloat in this new climate? I'll tell you what they shouldn't do. See, the past few years, DC has had this habit of creating new miniseries based on classic titles. We saw this with Before Watchmen, we saw this with Sandman Overture, and we're seeing it right now with The Dark Knight 3. While these three miniseries may be pretty good in some cases, they've all been plagued with massive delays, killing all momentum so that by the time the last issue comes out, we forgot it even existed. And that can't happen. Vertigo needs to be in the public eye every month, not just when Sandman is coming out. Speaking of which, focusing on older titles is fine, but don't create another Sandman Overture. You can certainly honor your classics by keeping them in print or releasing new versions of them, But as far as your month-to-month books are concerned, you have to focus on new content. Keep putting out your current monthly books, but at the same time, don't be afraid to start something new. And I mean new, not just Transmetropolitan 2, not just a new Hellblazer line, new. Maybe start by rethinking the way you do deals with writers and artists. Start attracting some back your way. Start small though, don't immediately go over to Image and start poaching talent left and right. Instead, start with like 1 or 2 titles and advertise the hell out of them. Do for them what you're currently doing with the DC Rebirth. Get us hyped and excited for them. Then, once those are successes, you can slowly, again, slowly start releasing more and more stuff until Vertigo is back to where it once was during its glory days. I'd say maybe sprinkle in a title or 2 from the DC Universe like when you started, like Swamp Thing or Constantine or something, but I think that's why you started Young Animal with Gerard Way. So maybe don't do that just yet. Probably most importantly, make sure you hire a leader that can help creative talent thrive. Fortunately, you fired somebody who was doing that, but it's not too late to find somebody else and start again. Just please, whatever you do, don't shut down Vertigo Comics like you did Wildstorm. This line is too unique and important for the world to lose. There's just something about this label that you just don't see anywhere else. Even the creator-owned content has a unique Vertigo feel that cannot be replicated, and it just screams high quality. It's not too late for Vertigo Comics. If you do it right, if you release good stuff, we will come in droves. That's my take on it. What do you guys think? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. How should DC handle the Vertigo restructuring? What do you want to see from that line? Do you think it was a mistake to get rid of Shelley Bond? Also, don't forget, Wednesday night, Wulff Den Live. So come, talk to us, watch the show, have a good time. If you miss it, don't worry. Archive version will be up on Thursday on YouTube. Also, audio podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and now Google Play. Yes, Google Play. As always, like if you like, subscribe if you really like, share this video with a friend. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time. Once that contract is over, the creator is under no obligation to continue working for the publisher. And in turn, the publisher is under no obligation to continue paying the creator. And whatever the writer or artist did under their work for hire days is completely owned by their publisher now. And I'm not typically into D&D style stuff, so if I'm telling you to go read Rat Queens, then go read Rat Queens. Or rather, read the trades. Let's talk about the run of this book. While the actual content of the book has always been considered top-notch, the behind-the-scenes operations haven't been particularly smooth.